Hello everyone and welcome to the Canned Air Halloween Special 2024. I am Jeremy Colley.
I'm Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
And this is part 3 of our Halloween series, the third and final installment called Ghostly Attractions, because both of our guests are talking about places many people want to visit just because of the legend that surrounds them, the fact that they're haunted. And very excited about this episode. Awesome conversations. I mean, they've all been great, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, not even just this year, going back over the past, 4 years now. If you guys haven't seen those, or heard them rather, because they're only in audio format, go to our audio catalog. I'll also put links in the description below. But this is the 4th year we've been doing this. This is only the first year that we've done it in the video format. So if you're all about those ghost stories, want to hear more stories told by the people who experienced them, go to our audio catalog and check out episodes 414, 462, and 507. And our Halloween episodes go back 10 years. Those are just the ones where we're talking about having people on to tell their stories. In the episodes before that, we tell some of our own stories, stuff we found online, and also welcome some pretty cool guests over the years. Like I know we've had Butch Patrick, CJ Graham, who was Jason Voorhees, Robin Shelby, who was Slimer in the first Ghostbusters. So just a few examples there, but yeah, check it all out. Again, I'll have links below. But without any further ado, let's get to our first guest, who is William Krejci, who, man, he's got a long list of credits here. He's an author, an investigative historian, genealogist, and he's the tour guide and the host of Strange and Spooky Cleveland, which is a ghost tour that he leads on foot, right, around Cleveland. And he also has this cool lantern. It's a blue lantern that he carries to light the way. But when he's sitting there telling the group about a story, about a particular building or something, or about a particular person who inhabited that building, he'll hold his lantern up and it'll project a picture of that person on the wall. It is so freaking cool. If you guys haven't seen it, look it up. It's really neat. But he's also written a ton of books, on all of his research and some of the paranormal things he's learned about over the years. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of stuff we'll have links to below. But yes, William joins us to talk about his experiences in the Franklin House, which if you're a ghost hunter here in Ohio, supposedly one of the most, if not the most, haunted house in Ohio. Is that right, Randy?
I think you're pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, pretty close, but I could be way off. I don't know. That's just what I've been reading.
It's definitely on the top 10, so.
That's for sure. And not only did William get to visit that place, he lived there for 6 years. I think that's what he said, 6 years, which is a long time. A lot of experiences there. But then he also talks about some of the spirits that inhabit some of the buildings on Put-in-Bay Island. Or is it Bass Island? I can't remember. The whole thing's Put-in-Bay, but at least I think. I might be butchering that. If you go to Put-in-Bay, where all the bars are, like the most touristy attraction part there, he talks about some of the buildings there and the lore behind them and the ghosts that are supposed to haunt there as well. So I'll quit blabbing about it and just let William tell you himself. Bill, thank you so much for taking time tonight to be a part of our Halloween special. Very excited.
Thank you. Privilege is mine. Thank you for the invitation.
I am so excited. We all are excited to hear about some of your personal paranormal experiences. But before we do, we have to find out a little bit more about you. You're an author, investigative historian, genealogist, and tour guide, and the host of the Strange and Spooky Cleveland tour, which I got to watch on YouTube. And it's pretty cool. Very curious about that lantern, too. That thing's pretty awesome. But, on top of that, you've written a ton of books over the years. About Cleveland history, some paranormal, I think some not, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so can you tell us and the listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, well, I was born in Cleveland, raised in Avon Lake nearby, where I graduated in 94. Attended Art Institute of Pittsburgh briefly for a short time, ended up back in Cleveland. I actually spent most of my life working in the construction field. Even spent a few years out on a freighter out on the Great Lakes out there.
Oh, wow.
That was an adventure.
I'm sure.
Shortly after I went back into roofing, and then I somehow found my way up to Put-in-Bay, where I worked for 8 seasons as a park ranger for the National Park Service up at Perry's Monument.
Oh, how fun.
Fantastic job. It was an awesome job up there. But I left a couple years ago and started ultimately my own ghost walk company. I was doing a ghost walks up at Put-in-Bay at the time with a friend of mine. And the tour was based on a book that I had written a couple years earlier called Haunted Put-in-Bay. So it has a number of places on the island that had some ghost stories. I had the privilege of interviewing some wonderful people up on the island. Some sadly are not with us anymore, but they shared some incredible experiences, and of course I'll get to those. During that time, I was also, for 6 years, I was the live-in resident historian at Franklin Castle here in Cleveland.
Right.
So I regard that one as the most haunted house in Ohio. And right around the time I moved in, was when I and John Myers, while we were writing the book Haunted Franklin Castle together. So finished it and came out in 2017. So now I have the new company here in Cleveland doing ghost tours. I work out at a Hale Farm and Village. It's a early 19th century recreated village on the Jonathan Hale Farm. So out in Bath, Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. So I get to play dress up and live in the early 19th century for about 6 hours a day.
That's awesome.
Which never gets old, right? I'm sure it can.
It's great, especially this time of year, because we have a lot of school groups coming through. So it's fantastic because we get to share this with these children, and they're really excited and eager to hear all about it. So it's fantastic.
Sure.
So when you're doing that, how method do you go? Do you like, hey, what is this cell phone thing?
Oh yeah, no. Well, I don't really do much first person up there. I guess we used to before I started working up there. There was a lot more first person, but
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, so it's because people know they're not actually journeying back in time to 1845.
Right.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Still cool though. It's a place I'd like to check out sometime. Where'd you say that was again?
Oh, that's out in Bath, Ohio. It's in the southern end of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, down in that area. So it's a wonderful place. Right now, it's just open on weekends, and it's right through the end of October, and then they have lantern tours for the holidays. So in December.
Okay,
great place. Yeah,
it sounds awesome, man. But let's get to this here. Let's talk about some of your experiences, whether it be between Lake Erie or the Franklin house, because I know you lived there for a time, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, 6 years from fall through late spring. So right before I'd go back up to Put-in-Bay, those were winter residents. So
okay, well then let's start with the Franklin house. I'm sure in that time you had to have experienced something while you were there.
Yes, quite a bit. It was I like to tell people when I moved in, I was a bit of a skeptic, but when I moved out, I was a little less of a skeptic. I never really liked to deal in absolutes. But when people would ask me, "Oh, is it really haunted?" I'd say, "Well, it depends on what you consider haunting." Now, when people say, "Oh, is it haunted?" I just look at them and say, "Yes."
Oh, damn. Totally turned you around. So it had to have been good.
You know what, though? It was a lot of people are like, "Aren't you afraid to live in that house? It's so..." No, it's not. It's there's nothing evil in the house, as some people have suggested. There were never any murders in the house. That's another part of the urban legend and the folklore of the house. It's a big, beautiful house, a lot of history. It's gone through some very colorful ownership in the past, and even to this day, that's the people that own it now, the LLC. These are wonderful people. And I'm still friends with the owners. This is wonderful. They're really great people. They're the best. It continues to amaze me. But as far as paranormal activity in the house goes, there's one story that really sticks out in my mind always. I love to tell this story. It was in the middle of the night. I'm sleeping, and I dozed off on the couch, not because my bed was in the most haunted room in the house, which it really was. It was called the cold room. But I would doze off on the couch watching the television because sometimes I get night terrors. And it's a great distraction. I didn't have a TV in the bedroom, so I got the TV on. I doze off. And then I turn the TV off, roll over, fall asleep. And I woke up to the sound of boom, 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 boom. Somebody running up the stairs. Now, at the time, there was a family, Amish family, mostly a father and his, at the time, 15-year-old son, who were working. They're the carpenters working on the house. He's apprenticing his son. And a friend of theirs that drove them. So I'm like, oh, I'm thinking it's Isaiah, the 15-year-old. And I'm sitting up on the couch, rubbing my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I can't even open my eyes yet. And a moment later, I hear boom, 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 and a little kid giggling as they're running down the stairs.
Oh.
I'm like, what did he bring his whole family to work today? What is this? So I get up and I'm going to go out into the hallway and go into the shop, which is in the front of the floor. Like it's now a bedroom. But I was just going to ask him, hey, can you ask the kids just keep it down? I'm still sleeping. If that's cool, that'd be great. So I get out into the hall and the light turns on automatically. It's supposed to. They're on motion sensors.
Oh, okay.
So not like
be there for a minute.
when it does that, I kind of look into the front room where they had the sawhorses and everything set up, and it's all dark. And I peer over the side of the railing and I look down, and it's dark all the way down to the first floor. And at the time, this is before Zach Webb moved in, I was the only person in the house, and the owners were back in Europe at the time. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I go back into the living room and I flip on the light switch. I look at my clock on the cabinet above my TV, and it's only about 4:30 in the morning.
Oh.
These guys aren't going to show up for another 3 hours. So I'm like, okay, that's it. Get the coffee pot going. Yeah, turn on EVP World News now. That's it. I'm up. I'm asleep at this point. So, so that was it. I was up. So I started having more and more experiences in the house. And I don't like to use the word disturbance because they're not always disturbing. I like to use the word events, paranormal events in the house, or unexplainable events. I started keeping a journal of these. So if you've obviously, you guys have seen Beetlejuice, the handbook for the recently deceased, you can buy a paperback version, and it's just a notebook. So I started using that as my
nice.
That's awesome.
Journal. So day of the week, time, what the event was, and seeing if there's any order in the chaos. And no, there isn't. There's no pattern. So things would happen as frequently as every 5 minutes or as infrequently as every 5 weeks. So it comes and goes. It's just sometimes there's activity, sometimes none at all. So
and it wasn't all just up and down the steps. It was kind of a bunch of different things.
It was all over. Sometimes it was up in the ballroom hearing somebody running across the floor. And that turns out that was a common occurrence. A lot of people who lived in the house in the past used to experience that. Someone walking around, even the owners had heard someone walking around up there. And this is before I had moved in. They were telling me about that. So, but there's doors that open and close. Lights, your lights will flicker. So like the lamp, like that right here that I have going. So that'll flicker and go dim and then get bright. And then a couple minutes later, the next lamp in the room will get dim.
Oh, man.
And then go back. And then the next lamp a few feet away will do the same. And then a few minutes later, the chandelier in the kitchen will do it too. So it's moving. I brought this lamp. I got that lamp when I was living there. It hasn't. I've been in this place for a good long time now, and it hasn't flickered once. So
that's crazy.
All that stuff. My clock that sat on the TV would sometimes chime 16 o'clock. I'm like, oh God, it's 16 o'clock. I hope the kids are in bed. I disabled the chiming mechanism in that clock, and now it's in the other room. So, and it doesn't do that anymore. So just weird stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Places. I paused a movie. I was watching Netflix. I paused something, and I used to smoke. So I went out to go have a smoke. I come back in, and I hear the TV going, and I walk in. No, the TV's still paused, but I definitely heard people talking. I thought it was a TV.
Man!
Oh my God! So when you heard the people talking, were you able to make out anything? You probably weren't paying close enough attention, but anything like that?
No, nothing at all. No, I just thought the movie had started playing on its own, like for some reason. And it was the day that I got the TV. It was a gift from my brother and his now ex-wife and a friend. Castle warming gift. I didn't hear what they said. But the weird thing about that TV is occasionally that TV would turn itself off. I'd be watching it, and just in the middle of, I'm watching, I don't know, whatever's on, meteor or comet or whatever, and suddenly, bam, like the TV just turns off, and it's like the remote's sitting on my coffee table. Nobody bumped it or anything. I'm like, okay. I get up and turn it back on. So once every couple of months I do that. It hasn't done it since I moved out. So very unusual.
Is that the TV behind you?
Oh, yeah, no, that's, I didn't realize I was on there. No, that's the one that's in my bedroom. So
Gotcha.
I've said it a million times over. I don't know how people like yourself keep your composure in these kind of moments. You know, I mean, you said you heard the running up and down the stairs and child giggling. That made you stay up. But like for me, like thinking about going to bed the next night, it's just not an option.
What really kept me focused on it, and it was never anything evil. It was never anything bad. It was not malicious. The house it's widely believed to be haunted by the family that built the house, the Tiedemann family, Hannes Tiedemann, his wife Louise, their daughter Emma, who died when she was 15 years old, but she never she never actually lived in the house. She lived in the house that used to be on the site beforehand. So people said she appears as a girl in white, her mother as a woman in black. Hannes Tiedemann, people haven't seen him, but they've just a lot of cute. They've just attributed a lot of the activity to him. Doing the research though on the Castle book, actually managed to track down and even became friends with the descendants of Hannes and Louise Tiedemann. They're children. Yeah, we all became friends actually. Now, unfortunately, I think only one of them is still alive from of the direct blood relatives. But Carl has 3 sons and a daughter, and his wife is still alive. Of course, she's a bit younger. But yeah, Dora, she passed away a few years ago. Carl's gone now, and Anne is gone. Carla, I believe, is gone actually. So yeah, I don't know who's left yet. But they were wonderful people, and I knew that Hannes Tiedemann wasn't a murderer, as the legend says, any of that. So really, I don't know. I kind of felt like when I'd walk in the door, it felt like coming home. It's the best way to describe it. So yeah.
And you had already had a love for this house too for some time. Like you started your book, I believe, before you lived there, and you got to finish it while living there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, John and I started working on it together around 2005. So it was another 11 years before we would finish it. We did stop for a little while in there. We were running out of things to research in relation to the house. But when we got the go ahead from the History Press to go ahead and publish it, we had to pare out a lot of information, and we found a lot of last minute things that we could throw in there. People's last names that had been a mystery for years. I started doing the research in 1992 on and off while I was still in high school. So, but even at that, I found out about the house when I was about 5 years old. So you got to go back to the early 80s for that.
Wow.
It's always just been an interest of mine. So
sure.
Yeah,
well,
I'm
cool,
the
man.
encyclopedia on the place. So.
Say that again. You what?
I'm the walking encyclopedia on the history of the place. Yeah.
Yeah, because you take your ghost tour past it, right?
When I was doing an Ohio City ghost walk for the Cleveland Paranormal Society, Bob and Don Bardos, I was taking them past on that one. Last year, I broke off on my own and started my own company, and I didn't want to do the tour that they were doing in case they wanted to carry. I mean, yeah, I wrote the tour, but I didn't want to go ahead and just say, "Well, I'm going to do it now" and just take it from them. But so I gave them last year and this year, and they didn't do it. So I might pick it up in the near future. But there are elements. But no, I don't really take my tour past it because the one that I do in Ohio City is it's way off the beaten path from where I'm at. The one that I do now in Ohio City is more like a haunted pub crawl.
Even cooler.
That one goes mostly along West 25th Street. And,
okay.
Yeah, it starts around the corner from 25th over at Forest City Brewing, and it ends over at the north end, not far from Carney's Bar and Bookhouse Brewing, so up in there. So.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool, man. I hope we get to do it someday. That'd be a lot of fun. Do you do it year round?
No, mostly I start Cleveland. I start usually around July, and I go through the very beginning of November. Just because people don't want to walk around through 2 feet of snow and do ghost walks. But
Great point.
during the off season, though, occasionally I do have bus tours now and again. I found a great guy, Les, who he was LG Transport. who has a 42 passenger charter bus, and his rates are very reasonable. So I use him every time now, and he's a great guy. So occasionally, I'll do a bus tour, and that also has drink stops in it. People kind of want to get out, go inside, have a cocktail or two while we're taking in the ambiance of some of these wonderful places. So
that sounds awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that someday, Randy.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
So let's talk a little bit about Put-in Bay. Put-in Bay is a place I love. My family, we all frequent it. So to hear some of the stories, I'm very excited.
Yeah. Okay. So and I do the ghost walk up there too. I have quite a few favorite places that I like to talk about. One of them being the old lighthouse. Now, if you've gone up and you've come over on the Miller Ferry, it's the short route leaves from Catawba Island and arrives at the south side of the island. That is right by the lighthouse. You can see the lighthouse out on Parker's Point right there.
Right.
To the left as you're pulling in. That lighthouse was built in 1897, and it was went into service that spring. The first keeper of the light his name was Harry Riley. He and his wife actually lived there because it's a combination lighthouse and keeper's house. They're attached to each other. It's a brick structure. But Harry Riley kept an assistant lighthouse keeper, a man named Sam Anderson, elderly gentleman who also worked as a porter out at the Hotel Victory, which was on the same end of the island. The Victory was the largest resort hotel in the world. It was massive. Was opened in the early 1890s, and it burned down in 1919. This thing was bigger than the one over at the hotel over on Mackey Island. It was a massive hotel,
enormous. Yeah,
big Victorian design, had towers, turrets. It was just absolutely incredible. Gables. Burned down in 1919. The flames were so intense that you could see the glow in the sky from as far away as Detroit and Cleveland. Ashes were landing 5 miles away on Kelly's Island.
Wow.
Living at the Hotel Victory, though, Sam Anderson, who was the assistant lighthouse keeper, he kept quarters in the basement of the lighthouse. And he had what a lot of people consider to be a very unusual hobby. He collected snakes. Now, I know a few people that have pet snakes, but back in the 1890s, kind of thought as unusual.
Sure.
Else about Sam Anderson, it turns out he must have been extremely germophobic because the year after the lighthouse opened, now being 1898, there was a smallpox outbreak on the island, mostly centered around that end of the island and around the Hotel Victory. That whole end of the island was put under quarantine. Yeah, a word we're all now very familiar with.
Sure.
So he kept trying to get out of the quarantine area. And on one night in particular, he was returned. They told Mr. Riley, keep him on the grounds. Don't let him leave, please. He's under quarantine. You all are. This is where things get a little gray. They can't really agree on what the actual cause was. But people will agree on this. Sam Anderson was intoxicated, and he was screaming. And the neighbors heard him howling almost. And they heard him yell the words, God save them all. And then there was silence. And they found Sam Anderson's body lying among the rocks the next morning, floating down there. He jumped or fallen. We're not sure which, if it was accidental or if it was suicide. But either way, Sam Anderson was dead. They buried him on the island in the under the drive across from Joe's Bar in the island cemetery. That's not where the tragedy of the story ends, though. The next day, Harry Riley, the lighthouse keeper, he went missing. And they found him a day later in Sandusky, attempting to buy implements for a racehorse he was telling everybody that he owned. Here's the thing. Harry Riley didn't even own a horse. He'd lost his mind over the death of his best friend. So he was remanded to the mental hospital up near Toledo, Wood County, where he was ruled to be incurably insane, and he died less than a year later up there.
Damn.
Now, people have claimed to see whom they believe to be Sam Anderson walking the grounds around sunset from the little yellow building on the grounds. That's the old oil house. That's where they used to keep the lamp oil. Carrying the bucket of oil from the lamp house over to the lighthouse right around sunset. The last thing that the lighthouse was used for. It went dark. I'll tell you this. It went dark in 1920 or 1969. Halloween night 69 was the last night that it was lit. They replaced it that winter with a big skeletal tower with a beacon on it. And then the lighthouse was empty. The Ohio State University operates a laboratory, aquatic research center on Gibraltar Island, right in the bay. And they were using it for housing for their students in the 70s, and they always dared each other, hey, spend the night in the basement, I dare you. And from what I understand, nobody has ever made it one entire night down in that basement.
Ugh. My ass wouldn't be down there, no way.
I had a friend who worked over there, and her name was Autumn, wonderful girl, and she was going to live in the lighthouse. They offered it to her, and she was going to do so until she read my book and then got all pissed off. And why did you have to write that? I was going to live in a lighthouse. And
you think she'd be thanking you.
You're right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, there's a warning. You would have found out the hard way either way. So.
Right. Damn. So have you ever experienced anything there?
No, I've only been not even inside the keeper's house, but I've only been up in the tower one time with I was there with my family, and I was just up there for a few minutes. I've walked the grounds around sunset. It's a great place to watch the sunset, but hey, as soon as that sun's done, you got to get the hell out because the police will come over and chase you off because it's dawn to dusk, and dusk to them is the very moment that there is no sun. Get the hell out. And it's like, oh, no, we're just taking pictures, and we're not hanging long, but no, not there. Somewhere else on the island that I always love to share the story of is the Park Hotel. And the Park Hotel is a beautiful, beautiful Victorian era hotel. It's one of the oldest continually operating hotels in Ohio. And it dates to 1873. And it's now the oldest building on Delaware Avenue right there in downtown. There was a previously one building that was just a year older. Last thing it operated as was T&J Smokehouse, and some bozo went and knocked it down to build something. It's been an empty gravel lot for 2 years now. We'll see what happens. But it was just really,
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah, it was before that. It was the Crescent Tavern. It was just a fun place. It's where we'd all go see West Side Steve on the afternoons. It was just a great place. So yeah, some guy bought it and just demolished it, and it's like with the intention, I believe, of putting in a swim up bar. Like really, like there aren't enough of those on the island. So anyway, I don't want to. I never met the guy personally, so I'm not gonna. I'm just pissed off at what he, that he tore this place down.
History. I get it, man.
Because that was the final chapter in the book. Also in Haunted Put in Bay is T&J Smokehouse. Guess what? Sorry, folks, it's gone. Yeah. But if you are interested in spending the night on the island, flip to chapter 1, and chapter 1 is the Park Hotel. Excuse me. The story of the Park Hotel is this. Started in 1873 as a hotel called the Hotel Deutsches by German immigrants, George and Ottilie Schmidt. And you can still see kind of traces of what it looked like. It was just a 2-story building with some beautiful gingerbread on it. They did very well that first year, 1872, so much so that in 1873, George took a trip up to that winter of 1873, rather. He took a trip to Toledo to go buy new beds and mattresses and what have you. And while he was there, he saw the most amazing building he had ever seen before in his life. Found out, and they were still building it. It was just this weird looking building. It was going to be a restaurant. He tracked down the owner, said, "I got to buy this place. Give me a number." And the guy did. And so George said, "Yeah, it's mine. I'll buy it." So the owner got on his horse, rode out to the construction site, says, "Guys, stop building it. Stop. You get to take it down and rebuild it at Put in Bay. I just sold it." And so they put it up right next to George's hotel. And it opened as the Columbia Restaurant, but nobody on the island liked that name. They just started calling it by what it looked like. Let's go to that new place. Which one? The round one. The round place? Yeah, the Roundhouse. Yeah. And so in 1875, it opened up as the Roundhouse. And for the last 149 years, it has only been the Roundhouse. It's the name it kept. But that's not where the naming ended. George Schmidt was no longer known as George Schmidt. They started calling him Roundhouse Smith. That's the name that he carried all the way to his dying day, October 3rd, 1888. The previous year, 1887, they finally had enough money. They built out the front of the hotel, added that third story, added that beautiful tower that's right there, built out the lobby. But the following year, 1888, George took ill. And he realized at some point that summer that he was terminal. He was bedridden, but somehow managed to get the strength up in the very early morning hours of October 3rd, 1888. He went over to his dresser, retrieved his revolver, went back to bed, pulled the blankets over his head, and checked out of the hotel.
Damn.
There was a sailor on a steamboat called the Arrow that used to frequently port at Put-in Bay, and this young man checked into one of the rooms on the second floor and also similarly checked out. Some
the
people
same way, like covered his head up with a blanket and
then I guess to keep down the spray. I don't know. I'm not sure. Less for his wife to clean up or whatever. Some people suggested that it was a suicide that took the life of a man who was working in the barn behind the hotel, but it wasn't. The man had a heart attack and he fell from the second floor to from the hayloft to the first floor. Unfortunately, they've also in the last year torn down that barn. It's no longer there. But we do know that it was. We don't know if he died from the heart attack or from the broken neck. But we do know that it was a broken neck. They killed a woman who was descending the stairs, tripped on her dress, fell. Some stories say that she was dead before she even landed in the lobby. Now, the paranormal activity attached to the Park Hotel, there is a lot. And I could be here all night telling you every story that I know. So I'll jump to a few of the good ones.
okay.
The manager, before the current one, Tip, great guy, actually lived there. And he lived in the quarters previously occupied by Roundhouse Smith and his wife, Ottilie. During the winter months, he was walking out into the lobby, and they used to have a barber's chair that was sitting in the lobby. And it belonged to the owner's father, who used to be the island barber. He walks in, and that chair is sitting there, and it's slowly turning on its own. Now, all the windows and all the doors are closed, so that thing turning on its own and it's very stiff. What could have moved it? There's nobody else in there.
Right.
I invite everybody, when you're up there, go up there, and on the front porch of the Park Hotel is another door, and it says Red Moon Saloon. Walk inside. It's the old speakeasy on the island, and as soon as you walk in the door, there's the barber's chair. Try to turn it. The wind did not do this.
Oh,
Challenge
man.
accepted. I definitely will.
And order a drink. The drinks are a little pricey over there, but they are absolutely worth it. I recommend the Slow Gin Fizz. It's fantastic. But you can get old fashioned or anything. But yeah, they do Prohibition era drinks. Fantastic. Okay. Wonderful atmosphere. Anyway, the hotel, people will complain. Hey, can you, they'll come down to the front desk and say, can you ask the people with the children, please tell their children to go to bed and stop playing in the hallway. We're trying to sleep. That's when they're told there are no children staying in the hotel. In fact, you're the only guests. Or they'll go and complain about the people in the room next to us are making too much noise. That's not a room. That's a closet. On another occasion, we got to go back to the 70s for this one. There was a girl that was working behind the desk. And a woman came in and said, excuse me, miss, I have to tell you, you have somebody trapped in your stairwell. And so the girl's a little perplexed, comes out from behind the desk and looks up the stairs and says, I don't see anybody. She says, no, not those stairs, the other stairs. So now she's trying to see from the second floor to the third. And the woman says, no, not those stairs, the other stairs. The girl says, look, I don't know what you're talking about. These are the only stairs we have. And the woman says, look, I'll just tell you flat out. I'm medium, and I was walking past, and I heard a voice call out and say, help me, I'm trapped in the stairs. Please help. So at this, the girl says, okay, look, you're starting to freak out our guests. I'm just going to have to ask you to please leave. So the lady said, okay, fine, and she left. When that girl was done with her shift, she went next door to the snack shack to go tell her uncle, who also worked for the same family that owned the hotel, about what had happened. And he starts chuckling. He says, what? And he says, that's interesting because there is another set of stairs in the hotel. We sealed them up a few years ago. They used to go from the laundry and the servants' quarters in the back up to the second floor. It's now a closet on that second floor. And I've been in it. Actually, the stairwell is still there, and I've seen it. It's very unusual. It's very creepy. It's weird. It's in the back of a closet. There's a stairwell that suddenly goes down, and at the bottom, it's sealed off. From what I understand, from many years ago, before they sealed it up, there was a caretaker. She had 2 young boys in the hotel with her. Now, of course, they're grown men. They're much older than me. And frequently, her boys would ask her, "Mom, who's the weird lady at the top of the stairs?" And there's nobody standing there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a couple that stay there every now and again. And the one guy, they check in and they're unpacking their suitcase, putting stuff in the little dresser. And the one fella, he's got sleep apnea, so he's got one of those machines. He's falls asleep with the mask on his face.
Right. Yeah.
So he puts his machine on the little end table, and he and his wife both they hear a scooching. It was like, what the hell is that? And they look and they watch together as the little machine goes right onto the floor. And fortunately, it wasn't broken. Those things are really expensive.
Yeah, well, it was CPAP machine, I think they're called.
Yeah, CPAP machine. So on another occasion, the one guy, he was taking a nap, and he went upstairs, took a nap in the afternoon, and he woke up, forgetting where he was. He felt a cat jump up next to him, and for a moment, he thought he was back at home, and he goes to scoop the cat up off the bed and say, "Come on, Madison, get off the bed." And he realizes, wait, I'm not at home, and he looks where he's about to go reach for a cat. There's no cat there, but there's a definite impression of where a cat had just settled down and curled up right next to him.
Oh, jeez.
I have to take that guy and his wife at their word because it's my mom and dad and not prone to lying to me. So
they don't seem like the people who would be stringing you along.
not in the least.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic place. But yeah, if you're looking for a great place to stay with a lot of nostalgia and a lot of history, and you're a huge history buff, Park Hotel, I reckon that's my ex-wife and I. That's where we used to stay when we would go up. I mean, you're not going to find a bad accommodation on the island at all. But if you're looking for something with a lot of history, I highly recommend that. And some people have gone up, especially at the end of the season, like right around now, while it's still open, and they do a little bit of ghost hunting in the middle of the night. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that would be fun. Yeah, unless I caught the girl in the stairs calling for help, that might change my opinion. But
if you ever go over there and you're ever going to spend the night in the hotel, see if you can find where that closet is with the stairwell. See if they'll show you where that's at. It's pretty cool.
I will. And I'm going to be looking for the red door too. I want to see the barber's chair. You've given me so many like a scavenger hunt of things next time I'm there. I'm excited because this is all stuff that I've been past a million times and just don't know what's there. Never noticed the red door. I'm going to notice it now.
Yeah, it's a white door, but it says Red Moon Saloon on it. So yeah, it's right on the porch. But look for the red light. If the red light is on above it, then they're open. And you walk in, and you're just in a room bathed in red. It's amazing. It's very low light, awesome. And it's awesome. It's great. It's you're in for a treat. We like to keep it a secret for a long time, but now the secret's out, so everybody knows about it. So. These are about $15, $12 to $15 each, but they are worth it. You will not be upset.
So. Yeah, and that's not a lot these days, is it?
No.
I mean, everything else, you can't get McDonald's for that. What's that?
I drink Guinness regularly, and Guinness is $5 at the Richland, so that's the rate there. So when I'm paying 3 times as much for a drink, that better be a good drink. And
right.
It really is. It's a great drink. But you're also again on the island. You're not going to find a bad drink. If any of the places were bad, they wouldn't be open anymore.
That's the truth. It's a cool place to hang out in the summer. I've never been there outside of the summer. It'd probably be a completely different experience. It's just the wind and the weather off the lake is just a bit much for me.
It can be, but they've got some awesome traditions up there during the off season. When the lake freezes, if it freezes, and it sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't. But when the lake freezes, you can actually drive from island to island. And that's what brings all the ice fishermen up. Oh, yeah, you can drive across the ice. It's fantastic.
I know you probably can, but no, I'm not having it.
It's just their ATVs or their snowmobiles. And over on Middle Bass, there is a pizza parlor over there, pizza shop, and it's they also the general store all together in one place. So people will go from Put-in-Bay, and they'll go across the ice in a convoy, and they'll all go over there to get pizza on any certain day. Because there's people on Middle Bass also during the winter, too. So
And these people who are going across the lake, none of them have ever plummeted to their icy death.
Well, if they did, they wouldn't be there anymore. No, people have died. It's sad. It's happened. What they used to do was you would take your car, and they would call them ice jalopies. And usually, we're talking something like a Model A Ford, 1930 Model A Ford. They'd say flatten the tires some. You get a little bit better traction on the ice. Take the doors off in case you need to make a quick getaway, because you can't get. So keep the doors off. Kids wear a life jacket. Good idea, just in case. Sadly, yes, we have lost people. Not really in recent years. People are smarter now. What they used to do was they would, and maybe they still do. I'm not sure. I've never really actually been on the island all winter or anything like that. But the ice wouldn't freeze thick enough until well after the holidays. So they go out and they drill test holes across the ice. And if the ice were thick enough, they throw an old Christmas tree in it. And that's your lane driving from one island to another. So,
that's pretty cool. Never heard of that before.
But most people, if they're going over, they're gonna fly. Yeah, there's an airport.
Yeah. That's what I'd be doing for sure. But I want to encourage everybody to go to your website, which is just your name, WilliamKrejci.com, correct? WilliamGKrejci.com is the one site. And if you're interested in taking a tour, strange, the letter N, spooky.com. So strangeandspooky.com. There you go. And I'll put both of those websites on the screen and in the description to this. But yeah, people, I mean, some of these stories he's telling, just the tip of the iceberg. His books have a lot more in them. I'm excited to read them myself. I'm excited. We got to get you back on, man. You seem like you need to come back next Halloween too.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure. Thank you again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, man. Thank you so much, Bill, and happy Halloween to you, man.
Thank you. You also.
All right. And once again, that was William Krejci. I want to thank him so much for taking time to stop by on the Halloween episode and tell his stories. Pretty creepy stuff, especially some of that Lake Erie stuff. I'm going to have to check that out.
Weren't you just up there on vacation a couple months ago?
Yeah, just a few months ago with my family. And yeah, some of these places he talked about, I was right near. I would have loved, it's so much cooler to know these stories, things to look out for. And I'm definitely, next time I go, going to be checking out some of this stuff, especially that door he said that leads into where the barber shop chair is, the one that was moving.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wish just a few months earlier I could have done it this year, but whatever, something to look forward to.
And he's such a good storyteller, too. I legit want to go up and take one of his tours because I just think that'd be so fun.
I agree. I totally agree. And I can't remember what he said. Does he say that's seasonal or does he do that all year round?
I think he said it was seasonal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be hard in some of those winter months up in Cleveland. That lake effect, man.
Yeah.
Ooh, no way. No, sir. No, thank you. But big thank you once again to William. And yeah, we're going to have all of his information linked below so you can check out more about William and his books and his tours and everything William. All right, for our next guest, we welcome both Laura and Mandy, who are both co-founders of Gatekeeper Paranormal, who also served as the resident ghost hunters for Bobby Mackey's. And if you know anything about the paranormal or ghost hunting, I mean, everybody knows Bobby Mackey's, right?
It's come up, yes, I'm sure.
It's definitely come up since this came up to us and I learned about Bobby Mackey's. I asked a few people, you ever heard of that? And both of them immediately, oh yeah, definitely know about Bobby Mackey's. Again, supposedly has the portal, or had the portal to hell in the basement, and supposedly it's pure evil that haunts this place. So who better to talk to than people who were there? I think they said 12 years. Is that right?
I think that's
12 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's over a decade. Jeez.
Yeah, one more year, and that's how long Canned Air will have been around. That's some scary shit right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the location is now closed and awaiting demolition. Bobby Mackey's has moved, but they talk about their time, again, working in the original establishment and some of their experiences, share some EVPs with us, which are pretty creepy, and we'll be sharing with you. So without any further ado, let's just cut over to our conversation with Laura and Mandy. And now joining us, the co-founders of Gatekeepers Paranormal, we welcome Laura, Roland, and Mandy Loftis to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Now, we got to talk a little bit first about you guys, because we have you here to talk about the infamous Bobby Mackey's, where you both, I believe you said, spent about 12 years giving tours and doing paranormal investigating there. So I'm sure you've got a plethora of stories. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, how Gatekeeper Paranormal came to be, etc.? Mandy, if you'd like to start.
Well, Laura and I worked together, and we kind of just bonded over, liking ghosts. And she was in a different group at the time, and she invited me to, I think it was Waverly Hills, wasn't it, Laura?
Yeah.
So we went and investigated Waverly Hills one night, and then she tried to get me in their group, but ghost groups are kind of exclusive. So I was like, well, let's just start our own. So we did.
Nice. I love that. And you guys have been doing, how long has Gatekeeper Paranormal been around?
I guess since 2013, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You guys started the same year we did. We just celebrated 11 years, so I guess you guys did too. Congrats.
Oh, you too.
So then let's talk about first. Well, I just want to jump straight into your guys' experience at Bobby Mackey's. I'm sure that's what everyone is dying to hear, but we got to know a little bit about the history for people who don't know about Bobby Mackey's. Can you guys set it up? Let the listeners who might not know what this place is and what it's about, what its reputation is.
Go ahead, Laura.
Well, a lot of it is built on myths and legends that aren't necessarily true. So what we have done what we did for the 10 years that we were doing tours there is try to really present the accurate history of the location and still tell the stories and the legends, but just present them as that they are legends and fiction and they're not accurate history. For example, Pearl's Head, there's a story about Pearl Bryan. Now, she was a real person and she was murdered and she was decapitated. The guys that killed her cut her head off and her head was never found. And that is a true story. But the myth that was always associated with Pearl was that Bobby Mackey's used to be a slaughterhouse, which it did not. And that the guys that killed her, Scott Jackson and Alonzo Walling, took her severed head to the slaughterhouse, to the well, which was supposedly used to drain blood and guts from the slaughterhouse. They did some kind of satanic ritual around the well and threw her head in as a sacrifice. And, it's a great story. And that's where a lot of the demonic stories started, was from, them supposedly doing some kind of ritual and throwing her head in. But that part of the story just is not true at all, because Pearl was killed in 1896. In 1896, there was a distillery on the property, and it was called the Old 76 Distillery. At that point, it had been there for 20 years already. And they dug that tunnel, which we all call the well. It was just a tunnel that went out to the Licking River behind the building, and they pulled water up in the distilling process.
Oh.
That's the true origin of the portal to hell, the well, whatever you want to call it. It was just a big tunnel that went out to the river, and they had a pipe running through it. So even if Scott and Alonzo would have strolled by there with her head, there's nothing they could have done. They couldn't have put it in there.
Right.
Anyway.
And
So
this portal to hell, that this well, I know there's a story behind the discovery of that as well, whether or not that's true or not.
Well, it's hearsay.
yeah, there have been there's been two different stories. One is that Carl uncovered it. And then there's this weird guy that lives in Washington or somewhere, and he claims that he actually dug up the well. So I don't know which story is true. But, as what we've always been told is that Carl uncovered it, because he supposedly was visited by many different spirits, and they told him, or one in particular told him, to go down there and dig up the floor, and he uncovered the well.
Wow. It makes me think of that movie, Stir of Echoes. Have you guys ever seen that with Kevin Bacon?
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a long time ago,
Great
yeah.
movie.
It's a
Yeah.
good movie.
Now, some of the other myths and legends that I heard that I think Carl had found like a notebook or something like tucked up in
Yeah.
the rafters in the basement. Is that accurate or?
We don't know.
Okay.
That's what we've heard. But the thing is, whatever he found, whether it was some notebook or papers, it's gone. I mean, he never showed it to anybody. Nobody took a picture of it, and then it just vanished. So we don't really know
anyone who
what's
ever
happening.
saw it, if it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
you know, yeah, I wouldn't want to see it if it did, I guess. I don't know. Part of me would be curious, but there's some bad juju if there's any truth to that story. I don't want to be a part of. But, you know, I was looking this place up initially, you know, looking on YouTube, you know, there's all these like Discovery Channel, like Ghost Hunters and Travel Channel kind of stuff that just make Bobby Mackey's seem like it is the most demonic place you can possibly visit, that some bad shit's going to happen to you if you go. Something's following you home for sure. And it just seems like they're really hamming it up.
Well, demons get ratings, so.
That's fair.
And it was job security for us, so we didn't really fight it too much.
Sure.
If you had to pick out, I mean, obviously, you know, taking a tour or something like that, but if you guys had to like pick out the most accurate documentary or something you would recommend for somebody to watch to learn about it, do you have any of those, or are they just all kind of blown out of proportion?
Our own.
What?
Our own. The one we did at school.
But there are two that were very well done that we sort of controlled the narrative of. Yeah. And one of those was Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne. And there's another one that's a YouTuber called Paranormal Files. His name is Colin. He did actually 2 videos, and the first video he put out is pretty much entirely history. It's pretty much all me telling the story of Bobby Mackey's. And so every bit of that is accurate. He didn't, you know, edit it weirdly or anything like that. Okay. So those are the 2 I would recommend: Paranormal Files and Portals to Hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will watch those. Yeah, because everything I saw was just so over the top. Like it was hard to roll with. But all right. So then let's talk about some of the experiences you guys have had.
Haunted Discoveries is another one.
I'm sorry, Haunted Discoveries, you said?
Yeah, they did an episode with us, and they're actually legit. They're the only paranormal TV show I will ever back. They're really good guys. Yep.
Okay.
I will check that out as well. It sounds like the whole series is probably good because, again, a lot of those shows are just unwatchable.
They're very scientifically minded, so they like try to use science to, you know, prove the existence of ghosts and stuff like that, like with temperature changes and pressure changes and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool what they're doing.
Okay, awesome.
I'll check that out. So, okay, let's hear about some of your guys' experiences over the years.
You want to go first?
Well, I've been molested by a ghost.
What?
Handsy Hank perverted Hank is what I call him. I always usually, when I did tours, I got there like 20, 30 minutes ahead of time just to kind of feel out the vibe of the place. And there was one particular spot at the bar I always sat and just kind of watched. And I was sitting there one night and just felt a cold hand like go up my shorts and grabbed at my inner thigh. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go wait outside.
Oh, hell no. What the?
Bad ghost Quagmire. Don't do that.
Giggity, giggity.
Shit, that was the most I've had happen in a long time, so I didn't mind too much.
Oh, man. I
Take it where you can get it.
Right.
That was good.
No, but there is a ghost who supposedly likes to grab girls in that area, so
damn.
I just named him Hank. I don't know if that's his name. That's just what I call him.
That's what I was just about to ask, if that was the real name, Handsy Hank.
It is now.
Yeah, it is now. All right. Let's keep going. What about you, Laura?
Probably my favorite one, developed the nickname of Gollum because he looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He was maybe 3 feet tall, mainly in the basement, but there were a couple of times where we would see a short shadow run across the upper level, but Gollum mainly hung out in the basement. The first time I saw him, I was in the well room, and it's kind of hard to describe if you've never been there, but there's a door that leads out into a little hallway, and there's a table right outside the door. So I'm standing there with my tour group, and I can see out the door because it was daytime, so there were all sorts of holes in the walls down in the basement. So a lot of ambient light, would just come through the holes. So you could see, it wasn't pitch black during the day. So anyway, I could see out that door, and under the table, there was this black shape. It was kind of crouched under the table. It looked like somebody was sitting there hugging their knees, and they were rocking back and forth.
Oh
like
my
this.
God.
And I was thinking, I thought, is that like some kind of animal? I had no idea what it was. All of a sudden it stopped rocking, and I swear to God, it turned its head, like looked at me, and then took off just fast, just like that.
When you say took off, do you mean like vanished or like went running on all fours, or?
I don't know. It happened so fast. All I saw was like a black streak. It just, I don't know.
Oh.
It just went. It didn't make any sound though. So it wasn't like if it was an animal, I would have heard, running.
Right.
It's just, and it was gone. And then about a month later, outside of the well room and outside of that hallway, there was a closet where they used to keep like stuff from the Latin Quarter, which was the Mawbone Club that was on the property back in the 30s and 40s. They used to keep Latin Quarter, like plates and serveware and trays and things like that in this little closet. And the door was open about that much. So about a month or two later, there was a guy on a tour. He's like, "Oh, what's in that closet?" And I told him what it was. And he's like, "Oh, can I peek in there?" I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." So he goes up to the door, and he's holding on to the door, and he peeks in, and he jumps back, takes the door mostly with him, ripped it off the top hinges. And he said when he peeked in, there was a table on the left-hand side. He said there was a short figure crouched on top of that table staring at him. And he said it was small.
God.
And my immediate thought was that was the same thing that was under the table. It has to be.
Right.
So we just started calling him Gollum because that guy said he looked like Gollum. That's what it reminded him of. So I'm like, okay. So from now on, it's Gollum.
He must have seen enough. I mean, I don't know if this was like a black silhouette or if like either of you, when you say it looked at you, could you see eyes at all or anything like that?
With me, no. When it turned its head, like it was just blackness. I saw the movement, but like it was just a black. I couldn't see any features of it at all because it was dark out there.
Right. Sure.
I could just barely see like the shape, the shadow of it. When he looked in the door, though, he had a flashlight. So
my God. So he saw some.
He saw it. And normally, people make shit up all the time. I mean, they just do. You've seen some of the YouTube videos of people, acting crazy and running around and making stuff up. But this guy, I had not told that story to him. And I certainly didn't describe it as Gollum because I didn't see it that way. So whatever he saw crouched on that table was the same shape and size as what I saw under the table. So.
Oh, man.
I wish I were sitting here right now. I'd love to pick his brain.
I know. I wish I could remember his name. But we've seen, I know I have, Mandy probably has too. There are several short things that run around down in that basement. And she thinks they're children. I don't know that I believe that.
Well, that's
maybe
what I was
one
ask,
of them was, but we got one to cross over, so there's at least one who's not there anymore.
But you still believe it to be children?
I mean, I remember one time, and I can't remember like why I was down in the basement by myself because I never went down there by myself unless I had to. But I think I had to go turn lights off or something. And when I was walking, there's like when you open the door, there's like a main corridor, and you walk in, you've got the well room on the right, and then you walk down a little bit further, there's like the dressing rooms. And I was walking down towards the dressing rooms to turn the light off, and I heard just right beside me with my actual ears a little girl laugh. And I mean, it wasn't like maniacal or anything. It was kind of sweet, but when you're down there by yourself and you hear that, it's kind of like, okay,
yeah,
time to go.
Yeah, it'd be hard to sit there and
I
tell
don't know
yourself.
why there are the kids there,
Yeah, it'd be hard to tell yourself in that moment, like it's just a child, calm down, because fight or flight, I would imagine, just kicks in without you having any say in the matter.
Yeah, I've never believed that there are children there. I think maybe
what about Timmy?
You think it's a child. I don't know.
What about Timmy upstairs?
No. I don't think it's children. We're going to have a debate here.
So,
I don't know.
if you don't see them as children, then Laura, what do you associate them to anything? You just saying they're small beings and that's it, or what do you
Small
think they are?
I have no idea.
No
I have
idea.
no idea. But I don't think they're human children. That's just my opinion. But
Would
I don't.
would it be the evil demons that the Discovery Channel told us it was?
Oh God, no.
I don't think so.
There's
But
enough
on the other
bullshit
hand-
going around. Don't add to it.
On the other hand, I have, EVPs, and I've heard other people's EVPs of voices that do sound like children.
Yep.
So again, I don't know.
And little kids running on the dance floor. I've got that.
Yeah, I've got that EVP. Yeah.
Going back, and I know you guys don't know all the history. I mean, you're probably the ones that know the most, but how many deaths have there actually been around that property or in that building?
One for sure, at least.
Okay.
What?
I said there's one for sure documented.
Paul, yeah. There was a guy back in the 1920s. The building was owned by a guy named John Pop. He ran a speakeasy / cafe. Caught on fire once. Well, more than once actually, but one time that it caught on fire, he had some guys repairing the building on the outside. And this was back in the 1920s. I don't know what they were using as some sort of scaffolding to work, but it collapsed.
Oh.
And one of those guys died, and the other one survived. But one of them died, but that would have been, out in the parking lot area.
Gotcha.
But as far as inside the building, we only know of one for sure. But again, it was a mob-owned club, so who knows what went on.
Wow.
We never found any notebooks, and we looked. Believe me, we looked.
Especially at the end, we were looking through everything.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. When you guys do your investigations, what type of equipment are you using? I know you mentioned you got some EVPs, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but
Neither one of us are real big into equipment. I use my own body, my senses and stuff like that. That's your best equipment you can have. And digital recorders, that's a big thing. I'll bring cameras occasionally, but digital recorders are the big thing because that EVPs are the easiest things to catch. It's really hard to get something actually on film. So,
but I have a spirit box. We use a spirit box, K2 meters, especially on tours because people want to do that. They want to come and investigate. So we have all that equipment for people to use. But for me and Mandy too, personally, when we investigate, we don't use that much.
okay.
Because think of it nowadays with AI and stuff. I could show you a picture right now. How do you know if it's real or not? Unless it has 8 fingers or something. But yeah.
It's the 8-fingered ghost.
Right. That's a big giveaway, isn't it, Randy? Were there any security cameras in Bobby Mackey's at all? Anything like that?
there were shells of one to kind of deter things, but there was only a couple. But all the ones they had in there didn't actually work. So
I see. So you had sent us a few EVPs. I was wondering if you could set these up for us, and then we'll play them for the listeners.
Sure. So the first one is Bill. What this one was, I had two people investigating on their own. It was just a man and his wife. They were the only people in the building at the time. Now, when we were talking about the death that we know that happened in the building, that would have been Paul. His name was Paul Goodhue. In 1943, he was murdered in the men's bathroom. And he has come across on spirit boxes, recorders, just audibly, just like a disembodied voice. We've heard him. And he'll actually say his name. Like if you ask for a name, we have had Paul come through on different recordings. So on this particular night, this couple was sitting right in the area where the men's bathroom used to be, the old men's bathroom. And the guy was wearing a jacket. He had a water bottle in his jacket. And you'll hear him trying to explain to his wife. It felt like something was trying to take the bottle out of his pocket. So he'll say, it felt like something was taking it out. Right after he says taking it out, you'll hear a whispered voice go, wow. And then the lady will say, what's your name? And you don't hear Paul, oddly enough, you'll hear Bill. The guy that murdered Paul, his first name was William, so he was probably called Bill.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that one was Bill. Bill doesn't come through as often as Paul, but he has come through a couple times. I don't know why he hangs out there. Maybe guilt for what he did. I don't know. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ones because not only was it Bill, but it happened right in the spot where the murder happened.
Incredible. And it's creepy. I'll cut it in for the viewers and listeners right here.
It felt like that, like something was taking me out of my pocket.
What's your name?
It felt like that, like something was taking me out of my pocket.
What's your name?
Yes, very, very creepy indeed. So let's set up this second one, which I believe you said was recorded down near the well in the basement.
Yeah, this one was probably when we had first started doing tours there.
Yeah.
It was me and Mandy and another investigator. And the three of us were in the basement. We were in the well room with a Ouija board because, of course, we're better to use a Ouija board than at the portal to hell. So we're sitting there with the Ouija board, and you'll hear Mandy say, "Our fingers and our bodies make a triangle," because there's three of us, and we were all sitting there. Angie was the other investigator. Sometimes you can faintly hear her go, "Yep," but it's right after that. There's a third voice. It's not me. It wasn't either one of them. And when I first heard it, I thought it said, "Who is there?"
Me too.
But the more I played it for people on tours and the more I listened to it, it sounds like I'm listening.
Yeah.
But whichever thing it's saying, it's creepy. It's a creepy voice. We didn't hear it at the time, and it's definitely not any of us saying that.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like the EVP we just heard, where it's kind of like faint whisper. This just sounds like it's there.
Yeah, this
is a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll play it right here for you guys at home.
Our fingers and our bodies make a triangle.
Yeah.
I'm listening. Our fingers and our bodies make a triangle.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yeah, that's creepy. That's some
so
creepy stuff. And I can't believe you guys, and I know you probably find comfort, you're comfortable taking a Ouija board down to the portal to hell because you have such an understanding of the history and know that a lot of this is just over exaggerated, but your boy here wouldn't be doing that shit.
Oh my God. Tell him about the one guy, Laura.
Which, bloody Ouija board guy?
Yes. Oh my God.
Bloody Ouija board?
Publicity. So there's this investigator. He likes to call himself an extreme investigator.
Oh,
and
Lord.
He's been to Mackey's a few times. I like him. He's a nice guy. He's just a little out there.
Yeah.
But he came to Mackey's once with a Ouija board, and he sat actually in the well, like inside of it, with the Ouija board.
Like went down in the well.
In the well, yeah. I mean, okay, it's not a well, like it's not like 10 feet deep, or it's only about this deep. I mean,
okay.
It's just like a little hole in the ground that's filled in with dirt. So, yeah, you can climb over the fence and you can actually sit or stand in it. So anyway, he's sitting in it. He's got razor blades. He starts cutting his hand and dripping the blood on the Ouija board and rubbing it around. And then he had a little vial of, I don't know whose, but someone's ashes. And he would sprinkle the ashes on the Ouija board and mix it up with the blood. So he's doing that in the well. God knows what he conjured by doing that. But yeah, that was a little crazy, but.
Was that the last time he was there?
No, actually, no.
So was there ever a follow-up? Like, so dude, the ashes and blood, what the hell?
No, I mean, I knew he was going to do it. And he's actually got a video on YouTube. It's called Conjuring Mackey's. So you can watch him do it.
Oh my God.
But the interesting thing is, there was a metal folding chair in that room. And after he did that, he wanted to do something else extreme. I almost don't even want to say this, but he had a girl lay on the ground, and there's like a fence, and then I don't know how to explain it. There's like a drop off from the floor of the well room to where the well is. So she was laying on the floor with her head kind of hanging off of the edge of the floor.
Okay.
Oh, this is so terrible. And he was standing there with one of those razor blades by her throat.
Ugh.
I know. But he was just trying to, like, you know, look at it. He was just trying to, I don't know, stir something up. But as he's doing that, the freaking metal chair in the back of the room fell over, and there was nobody back there in that part of the room. It scared me because everybody jumped. I was in the room at the time. Everybody jumped, and I thought, oh my God, he's got that razor like right by her neck.
Yeah.
And if he jumped because he was startled,
Right.
but that didn't happen. But yeah.
How easily he could have nicked a jugular. Jesus
He could have,
Christ.
I know.
So what was her how was she acting during all this? Like she was just going along with it but didn't want to? Was she as excited?
Oh no, she wanted to. She wanted to. Yeah.
Fuck.
That's some commitment, man.
That's
Now,
something.
I did have to cut him off when one time he asked if he could do an animal sacrifice.
Oh God.
Oh, thank God you said no.
And I'm like, absolutely not. He's like, I'll provide my own goat. I'm like, no, you won't.
What?
No.
He was going to bring a goat in there and
A
kill
goat.
it.
Yep.
Well, we're animal lovers, so that would never have happened.
I would never.
Thank God.
Never.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
have turned my stomach.
Yeah.
Some
Oh, God,
people
yeah.
are out there, man.
Some
Jeez.
people are. Yep.
So do you think he was doing this just for the show on his channel, or if he legitimately believed in this?
I
Or
think
both.
he's just one of those people who just for attention, just for being extreme and to get people to talk about it. He's actually kind of hated in the paranormal world. There are a lot of people who don't like him, believe it or not. So.
I can believe it.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah. Yeah. This doesn't come as a surprise.
I haven't even met the guy, and I want to be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's like such a weird thing because I want to go kind of check out that video of his, but at the same time, I don't want to give it another view. You know?
I don't think, honestly, it doesn't really have that many views, which is kind of surprising, but.
Okay, so I'm not doing him any favors.
You won't do him any favors, no.
All right.
He actually kind of vanished off the face of the earth. I haven't heard from him in years.
It's all that ghost hunter hate coming his way.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just be quiet.
Now, something you guys had mentioned last time we talked to you was that, obviously the original Bobby Mackey's location, the one we're talking about here, has now closed and has moved to a new temporary establishment. And you guys had mentioned that there were some plans that may not see fruition, but there was an idea for a plan to tear down the original Bobby Mackey's, build a new one, and then to have a glass dance floor with this well underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the plan.
I mean, they're still going to tear it down, but we don't think they're actually going to ever build it back.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. They say they want to, but that's a huge, I don't know, project to undertake.
Right.
Bobby's 75, right? 75. I think he's about to turn 76.
Yeah, he's getting close to 80, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just seems like a lot. And the place they're at now is actually right down the road from me. And it seems like a perfect, location because he doesn't have to do anything. Not that he really did anything at the old place either, but all he has to do is show up and play music. Like there's no maintenance because he's just leasing the building. Just seems like a pretty nice setup to play out your retirement.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Agreed.
Maybe they will. And if they do, they plan to put plexiglass over the well and have spotlights in it so people can still see it.
People can still rub their blood and ashes right over the top of it. Damn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, not to get you to speak for him, but I'm just curious, does Bobby, I mean, obviously he likes, the publicity and stuff that this brings, but is he into it? Is he just kind of like whatever?
Oh, he is very anti-ghost. Like he doesn't believe in it at all.
Gotcha.
So he said, I can't I don't understand how he's been there for what, like 40 years and not had any kind of experience. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah. But see, there are some people in this world who can experience something like that, but just want so badly not to believe it or accept what they've seen that they can just brush it off or just say, that didn't happen. You know, I know people like that.
He's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I kind of want to visit now that it's in a different location just to kind of feel the aesthetic of it all, but maybe just drive past where the old one is / was, depending on when we get there. But
well,
what about
it's
you,
still
Randy?
up right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm always down to check out spooky shit.
Yeah, it sounds freaking awesome. I feel like there was something I'm forgetting to ask. Randy, do you have any idea what that might be? Any other questions you might have?
I think we covered it.
Yeah,
honestly.
unless there were any other experiences that you guys had while doing your tours there.
Well, we've had a lot.
Remember the creeping darkness? That was kind of freaky for me.
Go ahead and tell it.
So we had this guy named Dan who like works on the road a lot, and he's from Seattle. And he would come to Mackey's and he would do a 2-hour tour just by himself. So Laura and me and one of our other teammates at the time met him down there, and we were just kind of investigating with him. We were in the Wall of Faces, and the Wall of Faces room, when the light's out, it's pretty dark in there, even during the daytime. But I mean, he had some equipment, and we were sitting kind of across the room from each other, and you could see the lights from his, I think, REM pod and maybe camera or something. And I don't know what triggered it or what happened. I don't even know what the proper term for this phenomenon is, but it's like just the room started to get like pitch dark, like
like the
like you
void
got
of all
the dark.
light.
Well, yeah, it's like the light got sucked out completely, and I mean, literally couldn't see your hand in front of your face, could not see the lights from his equipment, nothing. And it was just, I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, I didn't get touched that time. I got touched one other time, but it's just a real creepy feeling because it's like you're kind of being swallowed up into this like void.
Yeah, that would be frightening as hell.
It's happened to me twice, and it was both with that Dan guy too. So I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Maybe it's all Dan all along. He's just playing a trick on you or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Damn. What about you, Laura?
I just thought of a strange experience I had several years ago. I had a tour. We were down toward the end of the basement where the dressing rooms are, and we were leaving. We were walking out, and I got it was this overwhelming smell of death. It was like something was dead. It was so strong. I couldn't even breathe. My eyes were watering. It was horrible. And, you know, there were 2 ladies on my tour, and they just looked at me. They're like, what is that? Where did that come from? I'm like, I have no idea, but it's disgusting. We need to get out of here. And it literally came out of nowhere because we had been down in the basement for an hour and hadn't smelled anything. And then right as we're leaving, right as we're walking past the dressing rooms, all of a sudden that smell just came all over. So we left, and Jan, another tour guide, she had a tour after me. So she came in, and I'm like, look, something's dead in the basement. We need to go see what it is because we can't have people down there. You can't breathe. I mean, it makes you sick from that smell. So we went down there. We turned on all the lights. We took our flashlights. We're looking around. The smell was completely gone when we went down there. And we found nothing that was dead. But it was so strong. It smelled like, I mean, I've never smelled a human dead body, but it had to be something big, whatever it was that was making that smell, because it was horrible.
It's all these mob bodies that are buried underneath the floor.
Yeah.
That's what I was just thinking. That's where my mind went.
Well, but that story, you know, the smell went away. It never came back. It was just weird that it came on like that. But I wanted to tell you one other thing. In the Gollum closet, there's a kind of a hole in the floor over to the right where you can see. And if you look down in there, it looks like it's about 2 or 3 feet underneath the floor. That's just like open space. And I had a lady in there once who said she was a psychic. And she was in that room, and she's like, what's under this floor? I'm like, nothing. there's nothing under there. She's like, no, there's something under this floor. You need to look under this floor. No, I really don't need to look under this floor. She's like, no, seriously, I think there's something under here. And she didn't come out and say it, but I think she was kind of implying that maybe there was a body under the floor.
Wouldn't be
So
surprised.
there is space for it because there's at least 2 feet, maybe more under that floor. So Mandy and I have talked about it. We're a little curious when they do demolish the building, what might pop out of there. I don't know.
Oh man, I would have had to look.
Well, we'd have to tear the floor up to do that, but
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like in the part of the closet there was like an
no,
opening.
there's a section where there's a hole in the floor where you can look
I
down and
see.
see, but you'd have to tear all those boards up to look under there.
I see. Yeah.
Didn't we see stairs underneath there, like concrete stairs or something?
I don't know.
When those engineer guys were there and they're the ones who found it.
Oh yeah, they found the hole. Yeah. There's another hole in the back of the building, way in the back corner where we don't usually go, but we have gone back there before. It's just like a pit, and there's a chair in the pit, which is weird. I don't know what that was used for, but
Blood and ashes, Ouija board stuff.
yeah.
Probably.
You mentioned it was a speakeasy. Do you think there's like maybe some hidden rooms or something from Prohibition?
Well,
I mean,
that's what I was going to say.
yeah.
Like, who knows what went on there? Not even the speakeasy, but then after that, when it was the Primrose and the Latin Quarter, which were owned by the Cleveland Syndicate, I mean, who knows what all went on in that basement and how many like secret rooms there might have been down there.
well, especially having a tunnel directly to the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tunnel's still there.
Damn.
And I've heard stories of them, of the mob hiring some guy to take these big barrels out on his boat and take them downriver and dump them in the river.
Mm.
And that's in a book that I read about the Latin Quarter. And he said he didn't ask any questions. They paid him money, said, take this barrel downriver and dump it. So makes you wonder.
Indeed it does. You have my mind a reel.
And there's I think where a lot of the hauntings come from, because we started out by saying, there's no portal to hell, Pearl's head's not in the well, so it kind of sounds like we're saying, none of that's true, so the place isn't haunted. But no, that's not true at all. It's very haunted.
Definitely stuff going on there, just not what the Discovery Channel is telling us.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I would sit here and say I'd like to visit, but I don't want to experience any of that stuff. Maybe the new place, but yeah, I don't know, Randy. You seem like you're probably the type who would rush right into a Bobby Mackey's and want to go sit in the well.
Hey, I've done crazier stuff at the jail, so yeah.
But the jail doesn't have a portal to hell and golems running around.
Well, neither does
and
Bobby
molesting
Mackey's.
ghosts.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Last thing we need is you molested by a ghost, Randy.
Yeah,
It might be funny.
What's
What's
that?
that?
It might be funny. He might enjoy it. You never know.
She's right. It might be funny. And on that note, what a great note to end on. I want to thank you both, Laura and Mandy, for taking time to be here and share your experiences and a little bit of history about Bobby Mackey's. This has been entertaining as hell. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. We enjoyed it.
Yep.
And happy Halloween to you both.
Happy Halloween to you guys too.
All right. And once again, that was Laura and Mandy of Gatekeeper Paranormal. We want to thank them so much for stopping by to tell us their stories. That's some creepy shit, boys. Oh, no.
It is. And I'm so glad that they kind of
It's
set
being
the
tore
records.
down.
Well, that, and I'm glad they set the record straight on a few things too, because there's so much misinformation. Shit builds up like a reputation over time. It's
There's
nice to
so
hear.
much misinformation, man.
Especially on this place. Like when I started researching for this conversation, I watched about 4 or 5 different videos on YouTube about this. Some of them from like History Channel, Ghost Hunters and stuff. And boy, oh boy, did they make it look like that was an open portal to like festering wound to hell, man. But then
Devil's
when
asshole.
you talk to these people who have been there 12 years, like in the thick of it, like who knows better, and you get the truth behind it. It's still creepy. But
there's still a golem running around hiding in cupboards.
That's creepy, man.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Amongst the other things, that's creepy. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, when you look at some of this stuff on YouTube, that's or Discovery Channel or wherever they put those ghost hunter shows, those people have it dialed up. There's people taking liberties. There's people acting horribly, but acting. But yeah, Randy's right. It was awesome to hear the actual stories and for them to set the record straight. So go to gatekeeperparanormal.com, find out more about what they're doing. And I'm sure there's a few more links I'll have to put in with the description for both Laura and Mandy. I just can't think of what they are off the top of my head right now. But guys, I think that concludes our Halloween episode.
Right on.
3
Happy
parts.
Halloween, Charlie Brown.
Jinx, I was going to say that, but you took the words right out of my mouth. No, that was it was really cool to do it this way this year. The video format, 3 different parts. Maybe we'll do it a little different next year with a little bit more time under our belts. I don't know. This is food for thought. Let us know what you guys think. Maybe each story should have its own episode. Maybe that's just me putting too much work on my own damn plate. I want to know from you guys. So I think that's going to do it for this part 3. So Jack, what do we have on the website, sir?
Go to cannedairpodcast.com where you can listen, follow, subscribe, become a patron, follow us on all our social media, buy some merch, get a hold of us on our contacts page, say hi. Hey, Randy, I saw you on this episode. It was pretty good. Your jokes were hilarious. You can send them stuff like that.
Said no whatever.
The fuck is happening? This is like the worst Abbott and Costello routine I've ever heard.
Who's on first?
Hey, Randy, who's on mustard? What?
And if you'd like to be a guest and promote your work, send us an email on our contacts page as well.
And you can find us on Twitter at CannedAirPod, Instagram at canned_air, and on TikTok at Canned Air Podcast, and a few different ways you can support us. We're on Patreon. Just search Canned Air, or you can follow the link on the website, Canned Air Podcast. And on that website, there's also a link to our merch tab, which gets you hoodies, hats, shirts, all that kind of stuff with our logo on it. And if merch isn't your bag, if you want extra content, the good stuff, which I always say is the good stuff, not because I'm trying to sell it to you, but because it's again where we let our hair down. All of our filters come off, and we're just us in those episodes. Some of the best episodes.
The stuff that we will deny if you ask us in public.
That is the God's honest truth. And it's all yours for $5 a month. I mean, come on. You could blackmail us for $5 a month.
I don't see this going well.
I don't either. There's probably some people in my life that if I saw they joined our Patreon, I would fucking nuke that thing so quick. Just turn the keys at the same time and just watch it go into a mushroom cloud. But anyway, anything else, gentlemen?
And no matter how you're listening to us, just give us a like, subscribe, leave us a comment, a rating, interact with us. We really appreciate it and it helps so much. Huge shout out to evergreenpodcast.com, the network we are so proud to be a part of. And if you just want to meet us in person and, heckle us in our faces, we will be at the Tor Gaming Expo in the Greater Columbus Convention Center, November 1st through the 3rd. So come get your game on.
There it is. It's a good time. And lots to do. And typically it's only been a 2-day con, and this year it's the first year it's 3 days. So
your boys are going to be fucking exhausted afterwards.
You got that
Yes.
right. It is going to be one hell of a weekend that my body in its 40s is not ready for, but whatever. We'll get through it. It'll be fun. It'll be every single year we go through this, like, oh man. And then when it's over, we're all just pumped up and super stoked on it, and like, I wish there was another one next week. Yeah!
Wow! Next year's not far enough.
Traction's fun!
Right? But anyway, with all that said, we want to take time, with all that said, we want to thank all the guests who have stopped by over these 3 parts of our Halloween episode and told us their amazing stories. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking time out of your day to do that. And we hope you guys at home enjoyed all these stories and enjoyed what we did. Again, let us know what you think below in the comments of these episodes, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, things we should be doing. We want to know. And with that, I think that's going to conclude our Halloween special. So until next time, I am Jeremy Colley.
I am Jack Doherty.
And I'm Randy Hardenbrook.
Thank you so much for watching and listening, everyone, and happy Halloween to you.